You done, everyone? So I thought I'd just jump on. It's been a long time since I've done any kind of live at all. So I thought, well, been a while since I've practiced the aluminum. Maybe practice that and go live at the same time. So we'll see how this works. So I've got a housing that I always practice on, and it's a good way just to keep everything fresh, and because it's been a while since I've actually welded on aluminum. So we're going to run a few test beads. Now, if you're welding aluminum, you always want to brush it a little bit. So these old stainless brushes, I always kind of just drop in there and just so the pinging might really kill the mic. I don't know. Always brush it a little bit because what you're trying to do is get that oxide layer off. And with cast, it's a little different because you never know when you're going to open up a huge pit or a void or something like that. And then let's see, where is it at? Always try to wipe down with acetone. And then when you wipe that down, you get all this black goo. So I'm running my iPhone, which is above the screen. So every now and if you see me looking a little like I'm not looking right at the camera, that's why. But all that black oxide and everything. And then I'm running some Rock Mount Polaris rod. So get it off shelf here and show you. No, that's tartan. Need to restock everything. Is it no, I stand corrected. Gotta get my names right again. So I'm running the Rock Mount Neptune. So it's good that we do a lot of work with Rock Mount and use it Neptune. When I'm really laying in, I'll use the bigger rod. But so this is 1/8 inch. I typically like to try to weld with the 16th. And this is I'll say similar to a 53, 56, in that you can um, anodize over it and everything. So Rock Mountain Neptune TIG. And when you wipe down everything, always wipe down your filler as well because those little oxides, you don't want to transfer that. That's what those little streaks are there. That's the oxides. Sorry for the sniffles. It's winter time. Everybody's got a cold. So we're running a Miller 220, and I think I'm running about 20 CFH of gas. Yep. So we're just going to lay down a few beads, nothing special. You can see I've ran a few already. So what I do is I periodically I'll just grab this piece and give it a little run over with a little welding wire here, and just to try to keep somewhat fresh. Now I always wear a respirator when I weld, so it's going to be a little muffled. I'll try to talk while I do this, but I always wear a respirator. My thought there is something's going to filter it, respirator or lungs. You get to pick. Now the welding setup I use is a CK Worldwide, and I believe it's flex lock, right? So you can just unlock it, and then you can adjust this head no matter where you want. And I use these Edge welding supply cups, so they're clear. It allows me to be able to see in there a little better. Now, if if you're an old hand at welding, you may not need them as much. But for me, I am not. I don't stay on it every day, so let's see what we can do. So this is what it's going to sound like. So sorry if there's a sorry for the little bit of muffling, but so also I love these Blue Demon gloves. It's got this TIG finger built into it. Doesn't let you get as hot. So how you doing, John Lee? What you up to? So I just running a couple beads of some aluminum. Just see, it's been a while, and then I'll run a few, chit chat, and we'll go from there. I wish I could actually show you what I'm looking at, but basically, make sure my gas is on. I'm looking for a little silver puddle. And then once I have the puddle formed, we'll start putting the rod in. So you guys were out in Hidden Falls. So I seen your guys' Instagram shots. I said look like a great day. I think I typed great stay or something like that. So well, basically, just a small bead, and then with the aluminum, you get a little oxide on there. So I just will brush that off, and what you'll find when you're welding aluminum is that if you're running over these thick areas, it just sucks the heat right out. So I just periodically just lay a few beads down. I love welding aluminum. Sorry for the sniffling. It's actually pretty cold up here. And then one of the big things I use is these readers. They're blue blockers. Yeah, so I seen that I guess you and Bill and forget the gentleman's name, one with that green Willis. Seen those pictures, you guys were all out there at Hidden Falls. Sound okay? So I'm running this through my iPhone. It's through the wireless in the laptop. The test I did seemed like it worked okay. So just gonna go through and lay a few beads down, and sounds great. Thanks. So just gonna go through and just lay some beads on. Now I actually kind of like welding on this cast. Uh, besides when you put on the mask. Well, We'll try one without the mask on. Yeah, I wish that I it's hard to switch back and forth between, you know, a lens where you can actually see what's going on versus just a camera. Because I know with the camera, all you get is a bright flash. So let's try it without. Let's try it again. So when you're TIG welding, and I know you got a TIG welder. There's all kinds of different cups that you can get. So if you buy a machine, actually you have the machine, you just got to buy the torch. You'll have these probably more of these. I don't think they're ceramic, but these standard cups that'll go in the standard torch. Now your machine won't do aluminum, so maybe we'll switch out and do a little steel here as well. But your machine will do low amperage TIG, and it's called scratch start. So what'll happen is you'll have to just kind of touch it, and then as you go, first start, you'll scratch across, and then you'll be able to start the TIG. It's kind of like lighting a match, if you will. You hang around it too long, though, it'll stick. All right, let's try this again. You got to put the cup back on. Where'd I put the cup? There we go. Now the gas goes through these cups on these. It's called a gas lens. It's made to disperse that gas. We'll change out and I'll do a little steel. For some reason, I love welding aluminum, and I don't know why I like welding the cast. So what the thing is with the cast, a lot of times it goes good, and then all of a sudden a pit will open up or something, and you just run into a ton of garbage. So then a lot of times you'll have to go back in and grind all that out and get back in there again. So it doesn't always look like the stack of dimes when you're running just regular, I'll say virgin material. Let's see here. The other thing is, hopefully it's better without the mask, is you never want to lean too much because what will happen is the heat will melt the rod way above it, and you'll have these puddles that just drip off. If you can be more vertical, then you can actually enter the rod right on the edge of the puddle. So I'm trying to get the little silver disc, and then you're just trying to walk the puddle and just apply the rod right onto the tip of the puddle. Back off heat a little bit once it gets hot. Now that hesitation you heard was me touching the electrode to the weld, which usually contaminates your electrode. So it's pulling up a ton of impurities here. But I don't know if you can see that last bead there. But I know you have a setup for steel, so let's make a change. So on the 220 that I have, I can bounce back and forth fairly easy. Take these off so I can see what it is I'm doing. Where are my glasses? Somewhere I have my regular glasses over here. That's not them. Here we go. The readers are nice, but only when I'm right here. So let me get the other torch. That way I can show you exactly what you would end up getting. Nice thing about the wireless mic is it kind of follows me. Okay. So that was the I like that flex lock because I can twist it and move it, but most of them come with the standard torch head like this. And I don't remember what that yes welder, what that plug is on it. It's called a DINS plug. And basically what'll happen is it just goes in and locks. Now yours, you'll have to run an external gas line and the torch head itself will have to have a valve on it. And with the machines, when they have an internal valve, it'll shut it on and off. With yours, with that little yes welder, you'll just turn the valve on, and then when you're done welding, you'll have to turn it off. If you don't turn it off, it'll drain the tank. So basically, I'm not gonna move the camera everywhere, but plug this in real quick, and it's literally just comes out that fast. Just a twist lock's all it is. So I'll break down the torch for you. It's just so you know. So what you're looking at when you get a torch, it's always good to know the components. Now, I'll be the first to tell you, I'm probably gonna call these by a different name. I don't speak proper English anyway. So you have the collet body. Now the collet body is what the collet that holds the electrode. They'll just sit in there like that, and then the piece of tungsten will go into the collet while it's all together, and that's how it gets locked in there. And basically, your torch, whatever you buy, will look. This part of it's going to be kind of universal, except you'll have a valve on it. You can have the longer collet bodies like that. They have what they call stubby kits that allow it so you can get into much tighter places. So same operation, just different collet body. So your collet body will go in, and then your cups. The cups, explain those here in a second. So then your collet will go in, goes in from the back, and then your cap. Now they make these long caps like this. Can be a short cap, just depends on how much room you have. The nice thing about the cap is you don't have to worry about cutting down your tungsten. So this is a full length piece. It's about 6 or 7 inches long. Let's see here. Yeah, she's about 6.5, somewhere in there. Now your cups, really the whole point of the cup is gas coverage. When I'm welding aluminum, I usually only stay with a number 5 or number 6 cup, and the cup numbers are in sixteenths. So you go up to a number 7, and once again, it's all about gas coverage. It's all it is. You want to make sure that when you're welding, that gas is totally encapsulated. You need to make sure the weld isn't totally encapsulated by the gas, otherwise you get contamination. But then your cups will screw onto your collet body, and then typically, and I know that there's ways to figure out exactly how much, but I'll leave that electrode out quarter inch ish somewhere in there. You just have to make sure you got enough gas flow. Now, the farther you stick it out, the bigger cup you need, and the more gas. Like if you get into where you really got to make it stick out, like I use this when weld up titanium. I mean, this is a number 18 cup. You can see the difference. And then, it's just like welding, just like when you weld aluminum. Let me let me move this because I just know I'm going to end up dropping this. And these Pyrex cups, I love these things, but they're fragile. I'm going to hang this up so I don't, because I know I'm going to end up dropping it. So this thing dissipates heat really quick. She's already pretty cool. Let's see here. So a little bit. You have to do a little bit of adjustment by the amount of amperage. Because typically, if you're running a lot of amperage, you got a much bigger cup, which means you typically will probably need a little bit more gas coverage. Now I can only go up to about 200 amp, and I mean she's really humming along for that. Also, your tungsten sizes will change as well because this little 16th, I wouldn't run this much over 100 amp because you'll what happen is you'll melt the end right off of it. But yeah, if you're running a lot of amperage, which means so typical ways to calculate that is for every 1,000th of thickness, let's say if it's quarter inch, that's 250 thousandths. You'd use 1 amp for every thousandths of thickness. So if you're really trying to lay in a, a really hard, if you're really trying to fill in something on a piece of quarter inch, yeah, that's 250 amp. A lot of times though, you'll stack that instead of just trying to make that all in one pass because that's a lot of amperage. I know my machine won't handle that. But for stuff like titanium and stainless, you really have to turn up the gas. Get a piece of steel here because for titanium and stuff, I'm probably running 40 or 50 CFH, which is uh trying to think of exactly what CFH stands for. Constant flow, possibly. I guess I need to look that up just so. But the gas valves have a ball that floats, and typically, if you're running at like a number 20 cup, you almost always double the size of cup, and that's where you start on your gas flow. And then since I'm running the 16th electrode, I'm going to pull out some of this 45 thousandths wire. I always clean it. And the trick to this is always getting that nice little pool first, and then and then going, because what happens a lot of times, they'll get in a hurry. They won't get the little disc, the melt, and they'll just want to start. And you can see it's not fused, and you're continually trying to go back and drag it along because you're not pushing a puddle, if you will. So I'm going to change this. So I'm going to go to TIG steel. And I got it set for 100 amp, which I'm not going to try to weld all the way through this. Only thing I'm going to do is I just want to bring it up to a puddle and just try to push the puddle along. So what time do you guys get out there to Hidden Falls today? Well, about 9. So you had a full day of wheeling then. Yeah, I can't wait to get back out. I think I've all but decided we're not going to trade in a Jeep. Interest rates and everything else. I don't want to tack on that much more debt. Plus, I got the Jeep kind of where I want it to be. Like we talked earlier, if I spend the money, I think I'd rather spend it on the Hemi swap or something like that. Let's see. Oh yeah. How does two door do out there? Yeah, Wrangler is cooler. Did you get that rear diff fluid changed before you guys went out there? I know you're trying to get that. You were trying to get that 500 miles in. Good. All right, let's see here. All right. So it's going to be kind of hard. Obviously, you're not going to be able to see this, but I'm going to try to bring up a puddle, and you'll hear the difference between AC, which is how you weld aluminum, so you get voltage going both ways, versus just straight DC on the steel. So same thing. I'm just trying to bring up a little disc. And I need to set up a little cam for this. I got the stuff. I just need to, well, I can tell it's been a while. The steel's cold too. It ain't helping none. So I'm just trying to walk it. Yeah, that looks like crap, but basically, well, it's probably been 6 months or better since I welded steel. Oh, good. All good to rear diff. So, especially if you get a torch for that, I think I would start with no filler at all. I think what I would do is I would just practice just starting the torch and then bring up the puddle and then just try to walk it. Just see if you can keep the little puddle moving. And that way you see if you can get it be consistent with the height. Just try to push that little bead, because what happens a lot of times, people will, as they're going, their hand will either go down or it'll go up, and it'll start running into this. Your heat's going to change, or they'll want to start doing this, and then that's when if you're putting rod in there, it'll melt out. What I need to do is do another one of these. I mean, maybe next Sunday we'll do it. We'll do it with the MIG. We'll kind of go through the setup and everything. But especially if you're trying to weld really thin stuff. Now, I love that little stubby kit because it lightens this whole thing up. A lot of people will, do something like put it over the shoulder or just to get the weight off. But, just bring up that puddle and try to push it. And then if you want to TIG weld, you gotta change glasses. I can't see. Let's see here. The big thing with the if you're wanting to weld with filler rod is get used to feeding it. So there's a couple ways that you can feed, right? You can just kind of push it with your thumb because you're not really feeding out much. You're only feeding out maybe eighth inch at a time. So I've seen that method. I've seen it where you hold it like that. But what I do is when I get into the office, which I hate going in, I have a piece of filler rod there, and I'll just sit there and just kind of inchworm it in. Now, I've been having a lot of issues lately with like tendonitis in my thumb. So one thing, if you don't feed rod much, which ran across this one of the places that will actually send me stuff every now and then, Stronghand has this little filler rod thing. And well, this is pretty cool that you can put this in there. And if you have some kind of dexterity issues, it actually will hold it for you. And then you can either push it with your thumb, and I've seen it, you know, it's hard once you're used to doing something to grab it any other way, but you can roll it across those rollers, and it's a lot easier on the thumb than the pushing. And then when you're done, it'll stick to the table. But these little devices like this aren't a bad way to start because that way, if you're trying to feed rod, you got to think about when you're TIG welding, you got this going, you've got that going, you got your foot going, and this is an easy way to try to feed rod. But if you can, I would always suggest start with just try pushing with your thumb, and it's hard to get that right spot. Sometimes almost like an inchworm people do with their fingers. But if you can, try to push with your thumb. And that way your fingers will stay constant and they can just glide across the table. All right. Go have good dinner, and I'll see you in the Zoom room on Tuesday. Like I said, next Sunday we'll do some MIG work. But yeah, when you're trying to feed rod, just push it with the thumb. It makes it so much easier. But I understand, especially with the dexterity of this. It's getting harder with the thumb to feed. But when you're switching back and forth between aluminum and steel, we're a little garage shop here, and we do a lot of work with rock mount, and they're really really good about sending me filler rods and help me with repairs. Is I don't know if you've seen some of the videos on the channel where we'll do some repair work on cast iron or we've done quite a few repairs on aluminum. welded up some engine heads and stuff like that. But that's where all these some of these filler rods all come in very, very handy, especially that cast iron one. That was a lot of fun. It was a transfer case. I can't remember if I did it on this channel or the other channel, but it was a transfer case, got it all positioned, and we just had it took a lot of filler rod because with cast iron, as you're welding, it's wanting to just blow up on you. You got to keep filling those voids, and if you don't keep the rod in there, it's a mess. So the big thing is just don't be afraid if you're welding aluminum or steel or whatever you're welding, and just get your setup, and then just stay consistent. Don't be changing a lot of things. The only thing I might change is I don't think I would start out with the 16th, but the joy of the changeover on a TIG head is we'll just change out the collet body and the collet itself. Don't grab them when they're hot because done that before. Just make sure because you can get these in about any size. Now I know I've grabbed these things before when they're just blazing hot, and you learn real quick to let go. So I have a little stand that I printed that I can keep everything in. Comes in very, very handy. Let's see here. And I only run one kind of tungsten. I only run a 2% lanthanated. That way I don't have to worry about, which one was I running at the time. But it's an easy change out. You can go to 16th to 3/32. And then you just want to have some way to organize yourself. Now, I myself found this. I found this little stand, excuse me, a Thingiverse. Just printed it that way I can put all my cups and collet bodies and everything in there, and it works out pretty good. I just keep it on the bench. It allows me to have some kind of organization to the madness. It works really well. All right, let's do a little 3/32 here. Now, once again, if you're a full-time welder, yeah, I'm probably doing a ton of things that you're just screaming at the computer right now. But no, if you got tips, always more than willing to listen and learn myself because I kind of came up doing this in started out in mold repair, where basically you were just fixing someone's mess up and you were just laying rod in it. That's all you were doing. And then I got to do a lot of jig and fixture work where we did a lot of MIG welding of fixtures and stuff, and that was a lot of fun. So I bounce back and forth quite a bit. But if you're looking for a little side hustle or side gig, stuff like that's not a bad gig. If you had some local shops that just need some repairs. One of the worst things in the shops I've ever worked in is the minute you hire a welder, it seems like the mess ups go way up. All right, let's try this here. So I always take a little practice run just to make sure. I'm not really running any more amperage, so there's not really going to be a lot of difference. I can tell I'm a little shaky. I'm trying not to touch the electrode with the filler rod. And I can tell it's been a while. Didn't let off easy. Let the gas finish running out there. Never just pull the gas right off. And well, not the greatest in the world, but it's been a while. Definitely need some more practice to try to keep it more consistent. But thought I'd just jump on here and just do a little welding live. And if there's things you guys want to see, that's something I'd like to keep doing on Friday or Fridays. What am I saying? On Sunday evenings. If there's a time that works better for you guys, let me know. If there's some topics. Even if we just jump on here and just answering questions and stuff like that. I don't have to be doing things. We can just talk fabrication. We can talk Jeeps, Dodge trucks, just anything just to always very much appreciate anybody willing to watch our videos. Love having the dialect. I only wish that you could actually. I only wish streaming was more like Zoom Room, if you will. But maybe we can figure out a way to do that. So anyway, I appreciate anybody who watches this, and we'll uh, we'll see you next Sunday. I think we're gonna do some stuff on MIG. But if you guys have other things you want to see or talk about or anything like that, leave me some comments below, and we'll see if we can't work those in. So I appreciate it. Looks like 3 people have viewed. Very much appreciate it. Hopefully more will view it after it's posted. Anyway, you guys have a good rest of your Sunday, and we'll see you next Sunday. Thank you.